Hey, Mason, it's been a bit since we've chatted. Obviously, you're busier than I am. And with everything going on, I wanted to touch on some news articles that put a us versus them mentality when it comes to college athletics and getting paid and NIL deals. It appears that the University of Tennessee, according to ESPN, the coach had a win. Or as ESPN articles also said, the Tennessee coach finally got a coach's win over a player's demands. So I always laugh about the us versus them mentality. First off, this is about Nico, the quarterback of University of Tennessee, who decided to hold out or to be advised to hold out and not go to the training camp and hope for a better NIL deal. Something that many people do, many quarterbacks do, either going into the transfer portal or what have you. This became very public, and the University of Tennessee said, we bid you the best. We're not going to do anything, and now he's scrambling to find a team. I don't like the articles that say us versus them. I personally don't think that's a thing here anymore, especially when I would say I think since the dawn of time in college football, the coaches have always had the upper hand, and the players had no hand. And now that the players have a hand writing articles that are like, yeah, teaches you a lesson. He may have gotten some bad advice. He may have some bad management, something to that effect. I could probably agree with that. But I don't think this should be regarded in that way unless I'm crazy and you think there should be a coaches versus players battle royale like a lot of these articles I'm reading are kind of saying.
Well, there's many ways you can look at that. I mean, overall, you could say he's a top 5 quarterback in college football, and there's other quarterbacks not in that top 5 that are making the same amount that he's asking for. So, in one breath you can say, he knows his value, and the other breath you can say the way he went about it is probably not the best way. Not sure, like, if it was his idea, if it was his agent or his handler's idea. Obviously, there was an article that came out that said the Tennessee coach was tipped off by another university's coach, which obviously could happen. But yeah, primarily the player versus coach, battle that we're starting to see. I feel like it kind of started a while ago. It started when the transfer portal was created. It started when the transfer rules were changed, where players now get unlimited transfers. And it was kind of more of an empowerment for players. And it puts them on the same level as, the coaches, essentially, when it comes to their ability to transfer and to leave and to, um, you know, find a different home within a day or two. So, today, for our fans is April 16th. My phone's already ringing. We've been on for maybe 4 minutes and I have 3 missed calls. So it's here we go.
I just think that in my experience as a fan, as a huge fan of college football, college athletics, I just got back from the Frozen Four, which is a fantastic venue for ice hockey, and they're in the middle of the transfer portal. They ask the coaches these questions like, "What do you do as a coach? You finally made it to the Final Four of hockey, and how are you dealing with the transfer portal?" Like teams last year in the Frozen Four had kids in the transfer portal on their team rostered for the Frozen Four, but were also going to leave the team for a better
Yeah.
opportunity because they weren't getting playing time. So this is as natural as it gets. This is the free agency of college. The majority of the coaches that were interviewed were very political. They have recommended changes to when the transfer portal happens, when it opens, when it closes, those kind of things, because it would help them in their seasons, or help them as a coaching staff focus on the season they have, and then allow them to give the time they need for the players that are in the portal or what have you. So lots of moves, lots of situations. I find it interesting that you said the other team contacted the coach. So again, I tell people this all the time. It's an extremely small world. Whatever
It is.
industry you're in, it is a small world. And my 20-year-old self, and this is the other problem that I see, when you're 20 and you don't have good management and you're in this environment and you don't know how to navigate it, you can make a misstep. And then they're talking behind the scenes as this occurred, and it didn't play out the way he was hoping. Now, to your point of him being a top 5 talent, I think it's real easy for University of Tennessee fans to sit there and say, oh, well, we lost to Ohio State. It didn't work out the way we wanted. We were one and done in the playoffs. He wasn't that good in that game. You can say all of those things, but to your point, when we talk about earlier episodes, finding a great quarterback in college is very difficult.
Finding a good quarterback at any level is difficult.
And so when you look at the tiers, it's like we all know what he can do. We all know how special he can be. So it goes back to that conversation piece that we've had many times is if you're being managed by an incorrect team or by somebody who doesn't understand the layers of the game, it can turn out poorly for you and your age. Now, does this hurt him moving forward? Does it hurt his potential for the NFL? Does it hurt his potential playing, if you will, because he can't find a school? I mean, I guess we're going to have to see how this plays out. But again, I mean, we all saw the tape last year. He had some really great spots and he had some okay spots, but he was coming into his own.
He will find a school very shortly. I hope. That's what should happen.
You would be surprised if he didn't find something.
He should have a school by the next 4 days.
So Tennessee goes to whatever quarterback they have and the hopes that they're going to be just fine in the SEC.
The transfer portal opened for them too, so they can find any quarterback that they want.
So, and again, I go back to the articles that are woe is me. Here, the coach won, showed this player, because the coach is all in on Tennessee because that coach is never going to leave Tennessee, right? He's never going to go anywhere. That's where he's going to be buried, right? He's going to have a tombstone at the University of Tennessee. That's what we've seen. All college coaches never leave, right?
It's so crazy to me because the thing is that the coaches can leave in the same manner. And they have, and they do all the time.
And then they frame it too. Do you remember I remember every coach, I met with the team. I really love this team. I love these players. I wish them the best. And then they go to the other university and take whoever they can with them.
In the middle of the night.
Yep. On a private plane, provided by the other team.
Yeah.
So I don't like the narrative of this coach really got one. This coach is paid multiple $1 million of guaranteed money. He has a guaranteed contract. And if he gets fired, he gets paid. And if he leaves, he's leaving for what everyone would say is a better opportunity.
Yeah, it happens too often. It is a double standard. But I'm glad that the players have now the option to, leave as well.
So this will be a fun story to cover. Obviously, we could write about it and we'll be talking more often than not. I know you've been extremely busy, so I'm happy to get some time with you. So the way that I look at this story playing out is you kind of have to we're in the turbulence of the wave, like the wave formation, if you will. We're not into the wave, breaking and going into we have a long ways to go here before the story is told. But again, the idea that these fans who are fans of the university and therefore they're fans of the coach because the coach is the university, that's what you're seeing.
I think that this story, you're correct in saying that it's not going to be told for a while because right now that's not the important part. The important part is seeing where he ends up and how much he gets paid. And then there's going to be the determination of whether the player won or the coach won / university, right? And then there's going to be that other factor of how successful is he going to be at that next university? And how bad is Tennessee going to be due to the departure? So, there's a lot of things that we still have to find out. Again, I don't necessarily think he's going to get $4 million per year at his next university, but I think he's going to get more than two. I think he's going to make 2.2 million, 2.3 million. I think he's going to get more than that at his next university. There's plenty of quarterbacks doing that. But
by the way, there's plenty of quarterbacks doing that aren't even playing.
um,
May I refer you to Archie Manning last year?
Yeah, but that's like one guy.
Oh, I understand that. I said many. Yeah. You're right.
And just so you know, too, Archie Manning's the only remaining top 5 quarterback to not transfer yet.
Wow, that's an interesting factor. I think also that you have to remember too, if you're a kid in this world, these schools, these coaches are excellent at framing the narrative, and they have to be. You played for coaches. A coach going in and not being able to portray his message to his players to get them motivated, to make them believe in a mission, would be a bad coach. So these are some of the best motivational speakers, the best artists at framing a deal to young athletes to get them to be inspired, to get them to be bought in because it matters to the university. So you have a quarterback who is not that. You have a team who probably is not that compared to, and let's just face reality. University of Tennessee doesn't have a slouch of a coach.
No.
Like, they hired a really good coach who has a really good messaging, who also is trying to drive his team to a national championship. That's what they're looking for. So they didn't hire like some guy. Like, they hired a person who you would run through a wall for. So of course he's going to frame this well. So I just think that to my earlier point, it's a small world, and then it's a small world of people who are excellent at selling. These guys are excellent at selling a mission, a vision, a dream. Because guess what they do every day to all these players? I mean, how many times did you talk to coaches? And how often were you like left discouraged? You probably left every meeting going like, this is amazing. I feel like I'm amazing. They tell me I'm amazing. They're going to the moon. I want to go to the moon with them.
Yeah, I mean, recruiting to leaving to setting up team meetings to motivation, the coaches always get the first say. They always get the biggest canvas to paint on with no one else's paint on the canvas already, right? So they get the clean slate at the beginning of every single situation, even especially like this, right? So usually the coach is seen as the good guy, and especially now when you have players getting paid ridiculous amounts. Not a lot of that is liked by a lot of people. Obviously, you've ran into that multiple times just amongst, avid fans and peers.
Yep.
But it's going to be interesting to see because, I mean, the payment of players isn't going to stop anytime soon. However, I will say that, looking at this from hindsight, this doesn't look particularly good for the players' argument. It looks like it's a deal in bad faith that you're just going after more money. But if you look at it, is it not the same as professional football?
I think what you said is really good. They're trying to frame it in that message, and the people that I tend to gravitate to are like, how was this quarterback managed? Was it a misstep by him and his team? Could it have been done differently? Like the second guessing. I like that idea better than the see these players getting paid is really bad. That's kind of like the waterfall moment. That's what you want. That's what, again, the University of Tennessee fans are going to give the coach the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to turn on their team in the spring ball. They all go to spring ball and watch their team play themselves and then talk about how they're going to be a national contender. So no one, again, you're talking to your fans, you're talking to your people, or as I would call it in a political or a political rally, when you're having these moments where you talk to your people, of course your people love you and all the things you do.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's hard for this quarterback or any player to take that momentum and say they did it in bad faith. The fans don't want to hear that. and he's not a part of another team, so he doesn't have a fan base to defend him yet. So he doesn't have that army. Like
Yeah.
the University of Tennessee is an army of people who are going to defend the coach and the team and where they're going to go. So I just feel like the deck stacked against him or against a player, and this may make some players kind of look at how to navigate this in a little bit better, a better light or a better way, I guess is a way of how to navigate the steps. Cause you got to be really smart about how you do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point earlier too, this is kind of the world of kids transferring in and out, and how players move and how players operate with their teams or by themselves. We're gonna have to see if this decision was the correct decision.
I also think it's interesting because it would be funny to see the University of Tennessee coach pack up and leave after next season or something for a better opportunity. And then the articles that will be written about him will be like, this is where he took our program. We're really thankful. We wish, I mean, there's not really a whole lot of bad blood unless, you leave for terrible reasons. Like, again, coaches get the benefit of the doubt time and time again.
Yeah. And when you earlier in our discussion, you talked about like the control that the teams kind of want. Here's my thing. This also should bring up to a lot of universities, a lot of coaches and players. When do you decide to have spring ball? Because spring ball is an indicator of your roster, indicator of your skill, indicator of the things that you need to improve on, or maybe some good and some bad things that you can fix during the transfer portal season, right? I talked to a university a couple days ago, and they're only 2 spring ball practices in, so they've got about 10 to 12 left. Tennessee just started. Other schools are just starting. Some schools have already finished. So, for those schools that have already finished, they see what they have, they see what they're going into. The players on the roster see, okay, it's likely I play, it's likely I don't play. Let's go see what I can do in the transfer portal. And the team is like, let's go see what we can find in the transfer portal, right? Gives them an opportunity to see like kind of the environment that they're walking into April 16th. Where some schools, they don't get that opportunity. Yeah. And
for both sides. You're actually making the argument that this benefits both the coaching staff and the players to see what they have, depending on the situation, what they have. Because again, if you're not getting the looks that you're hoping to get, where do you go?
Exactly.
What is your plan for you as a player, and what's your management team looking like?
Yeah.
Are they allowing management teams to go to spring ball, or is spring ball completely closed to all players?
You mean like the agents?
I'm sorry. Is spring ball closed to just the staff and the players? So you only hear from your player how it looked, or are management teams allowed to be at spring ball?
It depends on the university,
okay,
what they allow, but because they sometimes allow family members. If you can allow a family member to watch a spring ball practice, then there's probably an agent that's snuck into that.
I find it interesting. I mean, I'm here in Arizona, so I hear a lot about Arizona State and what they're doing. They're very open about transferring. They're very open about like there's kids that want to leave or kids that want to be there and that kind of thing. And of course, everyone's hyped up because they made it to the tournament last year and they actually gave Texas a little bit of a game. So everyone was pretty stoked about how ASU looked, but in all reality, they're not the program that everyone's going to look at and say that's the team we got to beat. So
you are surprised though by the winter transfer portal mid-December. A lot of players decided to transfer to those top schools that just made it to the playoffs and things of that nature, right? Like SMU got a lot of transfers coming in. Boise State not so much though. But you're gonna see like Georgia transfers in, transfers out. You're going to see a lot of movement. I think that, if it hasn't already happened already, right?
Do you think
be some big transfers?
Do you think the University of Tennessee situation is also because it's a quarterback? And because the reason why it's getting so much play is because he's a quarterback. if he was an offensive lineman, defensive lineman who did something to this nature, it wouldn't get the play because, again, these people, to your point, there's so many people transferring in these positions and it's so regular. And a
Well,
quarterback is kind of the name. Like,
well,
if you
here's
think
the
about
thing.
it,
No, well, the particular quarterback is why. So Nico Iamaleava was like one of the first players in high school to get a major deal to the point where he was sitting out of high school games. Like he originally signed for $8 million to go to Tennessee. So that
wow.
was something that happened years ago. Now, under that contract, obviously the quarterback market has gone up, and he feels that he should be in the top tier of that quarterback market, right? So, I'm not in his camp, but from my perspective, I could be easily see that his camp feels, hey, we need to renegotiate because you're now in the very, you know, normal echelon tier of a starting quarterback when there's quarterbacks at smaller schools, non-playoff schools making 4 million a year. We need to be around that number.
So Tennessee created the problem. They created the problem by going to this high school player and giving him a really great deal that he sit out of high school and he believed that he was really great. Then he performs, right? He's been performing. And now he's like, I would like some more. I think all of that is fair. And then Tennessee's like, whoa, where is this coming from? It came from when you visited him at 15 and 16 and then offered him a crazy deal. And everyone's going to sit there and blame this kid. Again, I know he's an adult, but let's talk about when he was a kid. Like, what does that do to your entire vision of life? I've never been 16, offered any kind of money like that. I was very happy with my minimum wage job, and I'm now a very grown adult. If someone offered me that deal, even in a purchase order to a company that I own, I would be flying, doing whatever I can to make sure to get that deal shored up. We're talking about major money, branding,
Yeah,
all of that fun stuff. Like
I
this stuff all happened. So a part of me looks at it and I'm like, are you shocked that he feels this way, Tennessee? You kind of treated him like this.
no, I don't think it's just about him either. It's like the market went up, and that's the way of this college market. I play well, I get paid more. That's how that works. I played good enough, I get paid more. I'm your best option, I get paid more. I
And
took us
and
to the playoffs, I get paid more.
and nobody's looking at like the wideout for Ohio State who also got a major boost to his deal and going like, oh, can you believe this player?
Well, he also stayed at the same school.
I mean, I know,
And
but I
didn't
mean,
threaten them, didn't
if he
threaten
went in
them
the
with going
transfer
into the
portal,
transfer
how much would Oregon have paid for him? I mean,
more than
again, if
everyone else.
right, so like if he went in the portal, Ohio State would have been like, I can't believe this kid, and I would be like, I can.
In my opinion, I mean, this might sound crazy and ludicrous, but for starting quarterbacks, once you go to the playoffs, you need to renegotiate. You just went to the college football playoffs, right? Like, you need to get a promotion.
I think there's maybe this is it. If I go into the mind of people, there's the people who have a limited idea of money. Like it's in a can, and once you open the can and you spread it out, it's gone forever. And then there's the people who think like, no, there's an ocean of money. When I look at these it's not like the University of Tennessee doesn't pay this quarterback, they save money. They're paying another quarterback. They're paying other players. It's not like, oh, that's all we had in the budget. We couldn't afford it anymore. That's complete silliness. I've always kind of shook my head at that conversation of, oh, this player is wanting too much, and
You
it's
know,
going to
it'd be
hurt our
really crazy
team.
if they go in the transfer portal and they pay another quarterback that same amount that he wanted.
Oh,
That would be hilarious.
and they won't cover it like this. They won't be like, oh, can you believe this? Or a quarterback like that didn't go to obviously didn't go to the playoffs.
New quarterback for Tennessee, $5 million a year.
then everyone's like, yeah, this coach, this pro, yeah. All the arguments kind of. So that, I mean, again, these are the things that you deal with on a pretty regular basis because there's so much action occurring. I find it as a fan, just as a fan, when I follow these teams, there's so much swapping. I kind of fade out. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wait for all this craziness to be over and then see what it looks like. But even when I try to look back in, it's hard to gauge like who got the upper hand here, because the hardest part that I have as a fan is new person into a new system, new person into a whole new program. How do they fit with their teammates? How do they fit with the system? How do they fit with the coaching staff? So there's a lot of things there that you're like, okay, is this going to work? Are they going to buy in? So then you don't really know until like week 3 or week 4, I would say, especially in college football. And if you're a fan, like I'm a fan of college hockey, it's a month. You have to take a month and a half before you're like, okay, this is working out. And that's a very long time for a very short amount of window that you need to win games to make it to the postseason. So it's a really quick fuse, if you will, to figure this out.
Yeah. And the fuse just started today. A lot of people get to figure out a lot of different things.
The other story that I'm switching to that I found interesting was the University of Colorado retiring the jerseys of Sanders and Hunter.
Yeah.
And I thought two things. One, I think this is a good move by the university and by the coaching staff to make players or make college kids believe in something deeper than just all of the transfer the money, that kind of thing, to say, oh, I can get my jersey retired, that kind of thing. You're treating it more pro-ish. Is that a fair thing? Because I'm trying to think of universities that have retired kids' jerseys.
Well, there have been, like USC has a lot of retired jerseys. Good for them, first off. Good for Sanders, good for Hunter getting their jerseys retired. All the power to them. The university decided to make that decision, and that's well within their right. And congratulations to those guys. They're ballers, no question. I mean, that's what the university decided to do. Now, do I think I don't have anything to say as far as like, do they deserve it or do they not? Because that's not my place, and that's the university's place. If they feel like that those players are that special to that program, then they can do that. They should do that. You had a lot of people are saying, oh, they didn't win that many games, but you had some guy playing. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, and he played both ways. Unbelievable career there. Sanders was a great quarterback for them and probably the best that they've had in years, if not forever. So, the talent that they gave to that school, the production that they had for that school is very unique to that university, to that athletic program. So, there's a lot of people that are hating on them, that are like, oh, they don't deserve it. They haven't put up enough, statistics or wins or whatever the case is. But for that university, they've done tremendous things. They helped with things that had nothing to do with football, with attendance, with the school culture, with so many other things that had much more to do with the university than just playing on Saturdays than, people really realize. People are just looking at the football aspect, but they had a very, very big part of increasing the culture, increasing a lot of things for the University of Colorado. So, power to them. Congratulations to them. It's not always just about what happens on the field. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that. And they definitely, contributed in a lot more ways than just playing football.
Does that make college kids? I know. I mean, they pushed out the story, so it got a lot of publicity right before this occurred. Does that make college kids look at that program like they're player focused? Does that give it
Um,
more? Does that give it more noise?
no, I mean, it's not like you have all the top recruits going to Colorado, right? Like like nothing has really changed, right? Because at the end of the day, You're going to have players. You're going to have more. You're going to have schools with more money than Colorado to pay their players. You're going to have schools and universities and programs that go to the playoffs. That Colorado is going to have a lot rougher of a time doing that. You know, there's so many other factors. Some kids would rather play for Prime and have that knowledge and have the connections to the NFL. Some kids want to believe that, hey, if I win games, if I go to a winning program or a program that is known for getting draft picks at my position or from the team, then I should go with that route. And then you got some guys that are like, dude, they're paying me way more money than anyone else. Why would I go there? Right? So there's so many different arguments for going to a university. None of them are wrong. None of them are the wrong argument. But just different priorities for different athletes and different families.
I think that's, I mean, that takeaway that you just stated is, I think, hard to grasp as a fan, because there's not, there were already a lot of factors before NIL. There were factors of the university, the education, the guarantees, playing time, those kind of things. Now you bring NIL into it, the transfer portal, these kind of things. There's so many factors that are so much larger than A plus B. I'm a fan. You picked my university. That's what it is. The one thing that is true about this situation that I see is, if you're a fan of the program, you want to see your team do well, and you want to cheer for your team to do well on the field. So I think, in the grand scheme of it, do I think, like, Ohio State fans care how much was paid, how they got these players who transferred in, who transferred out? They want a national championship. They don't care. They're
No,
stoked. They love it.
they're
Like,
at that echelon where they shouldn't be caring.
so, like, you think the University of Oregon wants what Ohio State just got? Yeah. Would they pay whatever it is to get there? Yes. So to me, I think there's so many layers to this, which is why I think just pitting, like, situations to a simple question of, this is what I believe the value is, this is what I believe this may be or that may be. It's like there's just so much more in depth to this conversation than just, oh, the player's greedy, the coach won, this happened, that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just like the NFL kind of thing. Like, to your point, we're now looking at these people as professionals. These kids are professionals in a professional environment, making professional choices for their future. Some will make good choices, some will make bad choices. Not everyone hits a home run every time, and that's okay. You can always recover. The one thing that we tell kids all the time is, it's not a life and death decision, but my God, the way they cover these kids' decisions, it's like life. It's like, can you believe? You know what I mean? It's like, holy cow, I can't believe he did X, Y, or Z. I just think that mentality is just, it's not the right mentality. I
Yeah.
wouldn't think about it like that if I was a 20-year-old. Like, if you're Nico right now and everyone's trashing you, you're like, what are you going to do? You're going to go and ball.
You got to. That's the only choice you have. That's the only choice you have.
And so, again, you have an army of University of Tennessee fans that all have social media, that all have platforms, that all can do whatever they want to do. So you have to ignore the noise as a player. I mean, you got to just not read the comments. That's the other thing.
Yeah, but it's going to happen. You're bound to run into some sort of negativity now or in the pros. You throw an interception, and all the guys that had you on their fantasy team are going to be on your butt about it. So,
Are the guys making bets?
yeah. So
Oh,
I
the
mean,
guys making bets.
you're gonna always have haters. I mean, come on.
So in the transfer portal season, as you get lit up and as all this happens, is moving fast the most important thing?
Absolutely,
Okay. So
absolutely.
speed is the essence.
The longer it takes for you to find a team, the less likely you'll find a team.
Fair enough. And then, can you go back to the original? You can go back to your original team if they'll have you, I guess.
If they will let you. As soon as you put your name in the transfer portal, they no longer have to give you a scholarship. They no longer have to abide by whatever NIL or collective deal they gave you. You're essentially just tolling time. You're not out of the university as a student, but you're not on the team.
So if this is wild. So if you're looking at it from, if you're a player, again, players are quick. I was 20. I wanted everything to move fast, super fast. So if you're 24 hours into this, is it bad? That's terrible.
As soon as you put your name into the transfer portal, every single coach in the country is going to look, and people will reach out to you. They might not be the schools that you want, which is the major problem for most people, which is why, Nico's team was reaching out to other universities trying to get a feeler out before all of this shenanigans occurred. There's a lot of gray area, a lot of, tampering-ish. I wouldn't call it tampering because they're not talking to the player. They're talking to the team of the player, the members, the representatives. So,
It's not, but this is why it's not black and white. It's why I'm not taking calls today. This is, again, you should have a plan formulated out of what you want. But I would imagine that your players, the most of the calls that you're going to be getting is from your players wondering what's happening.
It's not really like the NFL draft. I would say that, I have very strong and big discussions with my players before they decide to make these moves, because oftentimes they may not understand the consequences and they don't see the consequences. If you're jumping into the portal looking for money and you don't get it, what you going to do?
You can't go make it. You can't just go create an opportunity that's not there, to your point.
Yeah. And here's the thing as well. At the same time that you're looking at all these schools are looking at all these other players. They already have, most of the time, the schools already have a list of the players that they're interested, or the needs that they have, or the type of player that they want, So, they pull them up. They go, all defensive backs in Power 5, all defensive backs in Power 5 at least 6 foot, all defensive backs in Power 5 at least 6 foot, and has a certain amount of statistics or play time or whatever. Go look it up, find the film somehow, look at the film. Okay, we'll take them. And then boom, pull the trigger, offer the kid. Now it's up to the kid. They're going to, while you're sitting there thinking and waiting, they're doing that to 12 other players.
To try to find the best
first
fit.
serve. First come, first serve. Because all the other schools are doing the same thing. And then they're offering visits. They're like, hey, look, we'll get you out here today. Come out here today, and then they try to close them that day that they're there. A lot of plane flights. Aviation's going to get some money today and tomorrow.
A lot of people closing deals. It's interesting because it goes back to the argument of like the transfer portal is ruining so many things. But when I look at it, if you're an established player or you're a part of that program, if you stick around for 4 years, you're also like a known. You have your known knowns. Like, I know what this player is. I know what he's going to be. And if he's on our program, it's fine. We're all happy. And then there's the unknowns, the transfer portals, right? Your player may lose his spot or may move down or up based on who's coming in or coming out.
But if you're paying them too much, then it doesn't really matter, right?
If you're
paying a guy to transfer in more than everyone that's currently on your roster, there's no discussion on who's starting. Doesn't matter if he's known or unknown. Doesn't matter what he's going to be. You're just hoping that he's going to be better than what you have.
I'm trying to figure out what the advantage would be. I mean, the advantage ends up being if you're a great player, that's the advantage.
If you're a great player and you're already established and you just feel like, if Nico, let's say Nico wanted to just get more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could have done it in a couple of different ways. Could have just said, hey, Tennessee, like, I'm thinking I might need an upgrade in pay. They could say yes, they could say no. You don't have to make it a fiasco. Go to them privately and talk to them about it. They say no, Put your name in the transfer portal. Someone will pay you. Someone will pay you. Georgia just lost their quarterback.
Good point. And
there's a lot of schools that lost their quarterback that have $4 million to spend on a quarterback. Now, do I think he's going to get the $4 million? Who knows? I don't know how good his agent is. I don't know who he knows, how they know them, or anything like that. He could get more. He could get less. I'm thinking maybe $3.2 million with a lot of good perks.
Because again, one of the things we talked about at length is you got to have film.
Well, he has film. You could almost just have a name. Arch Manning could transfer right now and still be the highest paid quarterback, and he hasn't played nothing.
It's crazy. It's crazy again as a fan, because when you look at this, this is like an encyclopedia book. There's just so many layers to this. Why did the kid make a decision? What did he? Because to your point, you may be transferring and choose a team because they were the first ones to the table. They offered you what you wanted, and you take it because you're ready and you're like, this is it. That's a deal's on the table. Let's make it happen. It may be as simple as that. That's why you ended up at the University of X, Y, or Z. So it has nothing to do with like, I looked at all my offers. I looked at everything that was going. I got drafted. I did this. It's like a wild buffet.
Yeah,
it's like crazy.
We ain't got time for that. That school's giving me what I want. All right, I don't need to take a visit. That's where I'm going. I get there, I sign the paperwork, and let's go. Make sure you have my number ready.
And I think that gives a peace of mind to the player as well, because then you're like, okay, I'm done. I know where I'm going. Now I know what I need to do. I need to perform on the field.
Because think about like teams just saw a glimpse of what their next year roster looks like. Mm-hmm. They need help. There's plenty of universities I could name that I know need help at certain positions. Right?
And I would even argue, especially because of the tournament style, depth is the most important thing now.
Yeah, but having a good starter is probably the most important
I mean, you want to have I'm just saying, if you have a good starter and you add another player to that position, it does not hurt you.
It doesn't, but you got to be careful. You don't want to threaten your star player, because I'll just jump him in the portal too.
So it isn't like an NFL team at all.
Be careful. Be careful what you're doing.
You got to make sure that the people you love are feeling the love.
Yeah. You can't imagine if you had two quarterbacks getting the same exact amount of money, the starter and the backup. Please don't let me be the agent of the starter.
I mean, all of that is fair.
No.
I think that's the other confusing thing from a coaching and a university perspective. Before, it was just like you have these elite tier coaches, and then you're just going after the coaches in the middle of and at the end of the season, or you're figuring it out because you want to make it for the program. Now it's everybody.
Yeah,
it's everybody, and people are.
This is pay to play. Why are we acting like it's anything else?
Why are we acting like it's about colors and about university
NIL deal? Do you see any of these kids doing anything on social media for the money that they're getting? No. Relax. This is pay to play.
And again, going back to the argument as a parent, if you're a parent of a extremely talented young kid, and you're like, I got this, I can handle this. I just want people to listen to this episode and think about what you're talking about, the timing, the relationships, the circles. You as a parent can really, really be detrimental to your child's success and how you deal with things.
I think that for everyone to really get a grasp of how crazy this is, they should make the NFL do it for 1 year, where everyone's on a 1-year contract. And at the end of the season, you can go to whatever team that you want as long as they pay you and they stick to their salary. No team would be the same year after year. No team.
Zero chance.
5% chance you have maybe one team that sticks together. Maybe like the Chiefs. Maybe the Bills. maybe the Ravens.
but you're assuming
But
that those quarterbacks stay. Because if you make all the quarterbacks have a 1-year deal, what you mean to tell me what is the
it's not.
rate of
It's because the only thing that would change if everyone's on that 1 year deal, right? They would just give more money to the quarterback. They would just allocate. They would just
yep
allocate. But not every franchise has that type of quarterback. They don't have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, right? So
right
everyone else, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll just figure it out as we go. Because eventually there's going to be a quarterback that just doesn't want to be a backup. So he'll just come over here and start, right? Like,
it's
but
that
for the receivers, for the defensive ends, for the defensive backs, all those guys, they're going to be switching like crazy. Oh, they gonna pay me more. Oh, I gonna pay you more. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
that is a really good man. That is a really good visual. I was just thinking about how crazy it would be, how insane it would be.
Yeah.
Like all the writers would be like, "I'm so tired. I haven't slept in
People
4 or
people
5
would be
days."
people would be having the highest paid player here, highest paid player there. Oh, nope. 5 minutes later, the new highest paid player there.
Oh,
People would be waiting. Like people would be waiting. Wait, no, 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 no. I want to be the highest paid quarterback. So what does that mean? Now I gotta wait until the last day of free agency to
and
make sure that I'm the highest paid by $1.
and
Like,
the winner of all this would be X or any kind of social media that's like blowing up that look what I just got. Look what I just got.
yeah.
Here's our roster. Here's how it's
But
forming
it
out.
would be the craziest game of musical chairs you've ever seen.
I will say, one of the things I have noticed is there's some college programs that legitimately are like every player they sign in the transfer portal gets its own like flash, their own announcement, all that
Yeah.
jazz. That game has to be on point too. It's not
Some
just
some some universities are better at this transferring game than a lot of others. And transferring really really is recruiting. It's in their same recruiting department. Their ability to recruit, the ability to make the player feel something. Some schools get it. This is a business now. This is not about student athlete anymore. I hate to say it, but that's what it is. So some schools get it. Show up with the car, zoom their family around the city, take them to nice dinners, make them feel like they're the king, make sure they sign that piece of paper before they go home.
and the schools that don't get it are just out
Yeah,
of
come
luck.
take a visit. Come take a visit. Tell us what you think.
You're like
No,
that's not it anymore.
none of these kids and families don't want to hear that. How much are you paying me to play here? Start with that.
They almost again going back to the my fun analogy of a carb industry, right? You want to see the sticker, you want to see the price, put it right there on the windshield.
Yeah, dude.
Show me what it is right now. And
Some of these schools, yeah,
then I'll look at the school and I'll see it with that light. I don't want to look at
yeah,
the school and then you show me this deal that I'm not happy with. Show me the deal and I'm like, "Oh man, this school suddenly got a lot greener. The
yeah,
buildings look a lot more updated and prestige. This university really has it happening." And it's all about that paper on the sticker.
yeah. It's crazy, but a lot of that's about to happen.
Well, your day is going to be fantastic. I can imagine you look forward to this because again, if you don't, you wouldn't be where you are. You'd be like, "Oh, this is the worst. I have players. I have to figure out deals." Then you shouldn't even be in this industry. This is to me. This is every. You're looking forward to this.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what. As my phone continues to go crazy, um, the last 2 nights, I have random numbers calling me and players. Oh, hey, referred to by such and such, and it's like, I'm looking for a school, and I think I'm going to jump in. I'm like, man, some of these kids are going in last minute, and I'm just like, I'm not a miracle worker. you know like some of these guys are, you would be surprised by what these kids think they should be getting paid.
Oh,
And you're just like,
I'm
and
not
but you're
surprised
like,
that
you have no production, you have 0 touchdowns, and you think you should be getting paid $250,000. What?
I'm not surprised at all. I've interviewed kids out of college, and their expectations of what the reality is versus what the market is very different.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about like when I was 20, I also had ideals. I also thought I was extremely valuable and I hadn't done a whole lot. And then I saw what the offer was and I was like, "Oh, I guess I guess I can take that or leave it. I guess that's how this works. I don't have a whole lot of leverage."
Yeah. That's how it works, man. It's crazy.
So yeah, you have to you get to stand on a lot of different platforms. You get the realistic platform, you have to sell them, you have to sell teams, you have to talk to everybody and see what's going out there. But I think the one thing that I enjoy about our conversations is you're not a big fan of fluffing it. You're not a big fan of telling a player you deserve the world. You deserve everything and
No.
anything, and then when they don't get it, you go, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. My bad." You take it as a very realistic approach. You tell them the lay of the land, you tell them the market value, you tell them where they should be, what they can be expecting, what they can be expecting. And again, there are teams that can exceed your expectations, but your job is to give them what the market value looks like.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty accurate about what a player can get and from where and stuff like that, just because of my experience with either the
The
university or the player.
relationships, the small circle of the
Yeah,
world that football is
but
in.
yeah, literally, there was a guy that brought up a player to me yesterday. It was like, "Oh yeah, such and such plays at this position, is at this school. In the last 2 years, you have 0 touchdowns, zero, and you think that you should be getting $250,000? No, I'm not going to represent him."
Very basic.
Yeah, no. Now, if you want to go to a school where you can play, sure, but yeah, no.
Well, the beauty of what you get to show our fans and everybody on who watches us is you kind of get to show the process. And the more people start to sink their teeth into this process, the more it becomes a, oh, this is a year over year professional player atmosphere with 100 teams vying for tons of players, movement all around, kids coming in out of high school, kids going 5 years, kids doing red shirts. There's a million factors here. So you can almost you can almost create kind of like, you could see all the plane traffic, if you will, through the United States. You could do that with player
Mm-hmm.
traffic. You could just show all the players shitwitching and moving and going, because again, your NFL analogy is good, but that's only 30 teams. You're
Yeah,
you're you're, you're talking about just you're talking about probably a full NFL roster of players looking at moving every year in the NCAA. Like all
no,
of the
way more
NFL,
than that.
you think it's way more than all of the NFL players? There's like what
Um,
60 on a roster. You think it's, well, I guess
it's
maybe
50 on a roster, 50 about 53, and then 32 teams.
$1,500
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty.
higher.
I'd say almost. I'd say almost at least 400, 500 players at any given point.
That's wild. But again, I don't feel for him because again, all the staffs are ready for this. The good
Yeah,
teams,
I mean, I'm not worried about the top 400, 500. I'm worried about it max. I think at one point I've had maybe like 15 guys.
so again, you have to get good. You have to be good in this realm as well.
Yeah, it's not including high school kids. That's just college people.
Well, any closing thoughts before your day gets kicking? Has already been kicking?
Well, I think a lot of money is going to be spent this next week, April 16th through the 25th. Payday for a lot of guys. Hopefully, a lot of universities get better. Hopefully, a lot of players get into better situations. You know, don't be surprised by full blown starters, obviously jumping into the transfer portal. Don't be surprised by super big paydays, super upgrades. Don't be surprised by the payouts that you might hear about for players not going into the transfer portal at the end of the transfer portal. Don't forget that. A lot of contracts where you get lump sums of money to stay at the university and not leave. That does exist. People don't realize that one, right? So,
Signing
yeah.
bonus. A signing
Yeah.
bonus to
A
stay.
little staying bonus, little
Yeah.
transfer portal bonus. Nice $150,000 to not leave. Yeah.
I
In a
think
day.
I think yesterday was tax day. We're recording this on the 16th here.
Oh yeah, nobody. I bet like a lot of kids were just like, because a lot of them still don't have agents, and a lot of them don't have any of that help. All my kids do, but not them.
The winning organization of this is still Paydays for players. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. Those living in the time where the players didn't get anything. I think this is a much better time. The players are finally getting, as again, they can be drafted, they can go to war, they can do all these things, but they're an elite college athlete. You should be a student only. Nope.
Yeah.
Now they're getting paid, and I'm like, good for them. Now you get to make decisions for you, your future, your earnings, all that stuff. It will be interesting next week when we cover this to see what were the moves that shocked, what were the moves that didn't shock. The Nico situation will be followed intensely because they've already written so many stories about it. So that'll be interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can give me your take about what you think how you think they managed it. Because everyone right now is like, can you believe how badly they did? Let's let the story play out.
Yeah, I agree.
So enjoy your phone calls. I'll be enjoying our chats online. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for Campus to Contracts. I'm your host, as always, and this is our expert, Mason. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments. We would love to hear from you, the fans, about what you think your team should or shouldn't be doing. And the one thing I will say, if you're a fan of an organization, if your team's complaining about the transfer portal, you need a better system for the transfer portal. Your team should only be excited about the transfer portal, in my opinion, because to your point, they didn't go to spring ball and go, we're good, wrap it up. We don't need any help at all. We're going to win the Natty. That is not how spring ball goes. Every coaching staff that I've been around in my high school coaching days, we always looked at it and we're like, here's all the areas we have gaps and we need to figure out. We need to coach around these gaps. Now you get to say, we have gaps. Can we fill it with the transfer portal? And if your coaching staff and your GM for your university are not looking at this together and talking to people like Mason, then you are missing out.
I agree.
Period. End of story. So fans, put your anger in the right places. The coaching staff, the GMs, those kind of things. And for those new GMs like and Andrew Luck, good luck to you. Best of luck. Enjoy the week. We wish you the best. As always, I'm Brendan. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.